1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches now. So we did 2 in that one. I'm going to do 1 in the next one. And 2 in the next one. Hope you're still following. Single in the next one. Two in the next one. Through, yarn over through, yarn over 2. That's 1. Same gap. Follow that last stitch. 3. There we go. And we are down to our last 2. We did 2 in that last one, so you can see, I'll show you in the end. Through, yarn over through, yarn over 2. I will definitely try and do a better rig here because I'm pushing this money box off the end of the table. So this is our last one, which we will do 2 in 2. Now you can see there's a stitch, a little bit of thread underneath there which we need to get into. So under your stitch marker, we want to go in the middle there. Don't be afraid to give it a wiggle. It's being a bugger. There we go. Go through into that one again. Right. So have we got 15? So you can see here, every other one, you should see that you've got 2 stitches in there. You can just about see it. They're a bit closer together. So 2, single, 2 in this one, so it's got a bigger hole. Single in this one, double in this one, bigger hole. You see 2 stitches in there. Single in this one, double in this one, bigger hole. Single, double. Okay, so we should have 15. So count back with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And don't worry if your stitches are a bit inconsistent at this point. You're just beginning. I'm not a beginner and they're okay. A bit bigger there, but it's a swatch, so we don't mind. So we have increased. Now you'll see that we've widened out, and this gap here, don't worry about that. Your stitches will get neater as you go along. So we've got a nice straight line here where we kept 10 stitches, but here where we've increased, we've fanned out a bit. So we're going to keep that going on our next row, and then we'll decrease back to 10. So still on single US, double UK. So we're going to chain 1, and that is our first stitch. So we don't want to double up. We're not doubling up again. We're just going to carry on with singles in each stitch. So I'm going to go a little bit quicker on this one, just so you get an idea of a little bit of speed. So we're just doing double crochet here in UK terms. Through, yarn over, through 2, through, yarn over, through 2. Now with the increases, they tend to in a pattern be fairly evenly spread, so unless you've got a really odd pattern, it will generally be in a even pattern, like every 3rd stitch, every 4th stitch, every 5th stitch. With the increase, with those flatties I showed you, they're fairly easy because they increase quite a regular amount, and I'll do those in another video. Through, through. So this is just to get a bit of depth before we start decreasing. Sometimes these last couple of stitches can be a bit tricky to get through. I didn't put a stitch marker there. Yes, I did. So that's my last stitch. If you see, if I were to stop there, I wouldn't have enough. So we've got 1, 2, back to you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I wouldn't have enough, so I need to make one more, which is where my stitch marker is, and which is why I've put it there, because it is tucked down there. So you've got to get your hook in there, and it is tricky sometimes, so give it a good wiggle, and this is why our hooks are pointed. Give it a good wiggle, there we go. Now if you find it a struggle to get your hook through, try and have the hook coming the same way as you did when you went through. Okay, so let's stitch a stitch marker in where we want to finish. So count back from where we finished. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and this little twisted sister here is 15. Stick the marker in there, see that? That is our last stitch. So that's where we want to go back to. So as you can see, it's widened out. I've done 2 lots of double crochet. Okay, now we're going to go back to 10. So we do the opposite of what we did to get to 15. So in this case, we're going to decrease every other stitch. And the way we do that is you join 2 stitches together. So make your height, chain 1, forget this stitch. This is done. This is your chain stitch. This here is your next stitch. So we are going to decrease by joining these 2 stitches together. And the easiest way to do that is by going, remember I said about front and back? We are going to go through both of these front 2 parts of the stitch to join those 2 together, and that's called an invisible decrease. So we're going to go through this front bit, and I'm going to get a bit closer here and try and adjust my light over here a bit. So see that we've only gone through the first part of the front part of the stitch. We're then going to go wrap it around to go under and into the second part, sorry, the first front part of the second stitch. I'll come back out again and show you that again. Made it a little bit bigger now, so you should be able to see better. But we see here, now the stitches are a bit away from us, so these are your 2 parts to your stitches, front and back, front and back. We are only going through these 2 front loops, okay? So pick up our yarn again. And we're just going through these 2 front loops. So think about it as going under and across. I picked up both there, so I just want to wiggle. If you kind of angle your hook in and up, it will help you get to the end of that gap. Back round, in and up. Use your finger if it helps. See that wiggle? So you now have the 2 front loops and the yarn, working yarn on your hook. Through, we use the same stitch as we did. So this is where that you might need to give it a little pull and a wiggle. So see, go through the first bit, through the second bit, you hook down to go make it easier, and then yarn over 2. Okay, so that is a decrease. So we're going to do alternating like we did with the increase. So the next stitch, this one here, we're going to just do a normal one, both parts of the stitch, and a normal double crochet, and then we're going to do a decrease again. So this bit here and this loop here, we're going through, up and over, through. Okay, through, just the front part, round and through. Use your finger as a little bit of a boundary. So we've got just the front pieces and the back parts are behind it there, you see. yarn over, nice bit of tension, and if you angle your hook down, you should be able to wiggle nicely through both parts. Now if you feel a bit of resistance, just pause a moment through the first one and just see if you can find out where that gap is. Just pull it up to create a little bit of space, and then through your two. So that's the second decrease we've done. Normal one in the next stitch, yarn over through, yarn over two, normal double, and another decrease. So find the two bits you want, use your finger, give a wiggle, up and over, find the front part, yarn over. If you have to do this in two parts, that's fine, so do it in two parts. Go through the first bit, find the gap, go through the second bit, and you're through. So you've got two on your hook, yarn over and finish the stitch off. Next one, yarn over through, yarn over two, normal stitch, not decreasing. Next one we're going to do a decrease, find the front bit, up and over, find the front bit, aim to the left a little bit if it helps, yarn over, pull up if you need to, see if we can get it in one go this time. Oh, not quite, give it a little wiggle. I did catch a little bit there, but I gave it a little wiggle there and it went through. See, these are little odd bits that people don't always go through on their videos. Is when you make mistakes, that's when you need to know what to do. So we've just done a decrease, so a normal stitch, and then we should finish on a decrease. So this is where the tricky bit is. So there's front bit there, there's front bit there. So what I might actually do, will I get away with leaving that in? Probably not, so we're not going to. Need all the space we can get, it's quite a big hook. So find the front post, finishing on decrease, find the front bit, not front post, front part of the stitch, gone too far, front part of the stitch, up and over, front part of the stitch. Now it is quite tricky to do this last one, so we need to pull it a little bit. This little bit in the middle is where we're trying to put our hook. So if you have a look there, you can figure out a way of, again, if you are a little bit stuck, find the loop you want, put your stitch marker through it and create the loop you want. Through, up and over, through, made a little bit of room with the stitch marker, so give it a little bit of wiggle, and we're there. Little tricks of the trade, you see. Stitch markers are amazing. So we've got our two loops, yarn over, give it a little bit of a wiggle as you come back. If you can't do it in one go, do it in two goes. Okay, and finish it off. So we should be back to 10. Give it a little bit of pull. And count with me. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and there is our 10th, all twisted as usual. Now if it helps, I would maybe create a little bit of extra looseness on those end stitches to help yourself out, but that is the last stitch. So let's just do one more row of 10 to finish, and I will call it a day there for those of you that want to finish there. And for those of you that don't want to finish there, I will be going on to magic circles. They are magic. If you want to pull your hair out all day and all night, they are my arch nemesis, but I've mastered them. So create the height with one chain. We are forgetting this first stitch. We are not going into it. So in through our gap, round, through. So we should be on 10. Get back to our gaps. I'm really sorry if I keep losing you out the camera. I will practice this and do my best to be better for you people. I am really losing this money box off the end there. There we go. I will also put a little index on what I'm doing when in this video, so you can jump straight to it, because I am that nice. Yarn over, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Right. Yarn over, 2, and we are back to our stitch marker. So I was supposed to give that a wiggle before it came out, but there you go. We'll figure it out, peeps. So there is our chevron between my fingers there. We've got to get our crochet hook through there somehow. If it just goes through the hole underneath, don't worry about it. It's not going to matter too much as long as you've gone through both bits of the stitch. Won't make an ounce of difference. Okay, so you can see that bump there is where we increased and came back down to 10 stitches. So that's why we've got that little dip there, because we increased and then we decreased pretty much straight away. So that is why that's like that. That's supposed to be like that, because that's what we've intended to do. We've increased, made the project wider, then decreased and went back to 10. So hopefully that makes sense of what we've done. So we've done 2 rows of single crochet in US terms, double crochet in UK terms, 2 rows of treble crochet in UK terms, double in US. I know it's getting very confusing. And then we did increases and decreases in double crochet UK terms. Okay, so off we go with that. We're going to have a look at the pattern now. Now the pattern I'm going to show you is for little forget-me-nots. Forget-me-nots for the dementia charity that Gary's mummy has kindly given me yarn to do, but I haven't got the yellow yarn with me for the middle, so we're going to use this colour that we have been using. I'm going to enjoy frogging that, so I'll frog that while I explain this to you. So there's lots of charity work out there for crocheters. If you don't mind buying the yarn and giving your time for charity, it's all a good cause. See here, we've got stuck it now. Now if I pull that again, sometimes if you give it a little bit of a wiggle, it will kind of unknot itself, because it's kind of tied into itself is what's happened there. So if you do frog, undo your work, and it gets caught like that, just give it a little wiggle. Try not to pull it too hard, you will snap the yarn, especially cheap yarn. So we are back to beginning. All undone. So the forget-me-nots are little flowers with 5 petals, and one thing that you probably tear your hair out after doing is something called the magic circle. Now when you're working in a loop or in a round in a circle, you can do a chain and put it together, but when we do that, it will create a hole in the middle which doesn't always close up very nicely or neatly, which is why people like doing the magic circle, which is what I have done. Sorry guys, you've just fallen off the desk. Rig needed. I need to get a tripod, but unfortunately delivery times for stuff at the moment is ridiculous. So back where we were. I've got you back. I'm going to unplug that now because it shouldn't be needing to charge. Back with you. There we go. So, where did I get to? So, slip knot on my hook. I'm going to show you the chain method first. So this pattern, I'll show you how to read a pattern. Here we go. Can you see all that? So yellow on this, in this case, is going to be this red, but the pattern calls for yellow. 1.75 meter hook, or millimeter hook even. So we are going to swap to my, now I'm using thicker yarn, so I am not going to do that because this probably calls for a thinner yarn. So I'm going to go down to a 3mm for your benefit. But obviously have a play with a bigger hook and then maybe have a go with the hook the pattern needs, because there is usually a reason. What I want you to do is your homework. When the two-bit video I've just done with that swatch, have a play with that swatch, doing rows with different size hooks, and you will see the difference. A smaller hook will tighten up your work but make it harder to work with bigger yarns. Bigger hooks will make your work nice and kind of holy and loose and nice if that's what the pattern calls for, but not if you want a tighter pattern. So if a pattern determines a particular hook, that is why, because it wants that tightness. So terms are usually abbreviated in patterns. So CH is chain, SL and ST, stitch is ST, slip stitch is SLST. So I'll show you what a slip stitch is when we get to it. And then chain, and then 10 single crochet is SC, double crochet is DC. So this is a US pattern because it's using single crochet, which is our double. So the first stitch I showed you is what that is calling for. So bear with me, it will make sense. I will show you how to fasten off. Then round 2 is where you change your colour. I will show you how to fasten off and attach a new colour, and then chain, and then what these brackets mean. So when you've got a part of a pattern that is in brackets, you do all that together in one stitch usually, or follow what it says. And then we've got double brackets here, which means you repeat the entire what is in those double brackets as many times as it says. You'll also find that you will have patterns with, if I can find a pen, instead of brackets you will have a star. So this bit here will be a star. If I can get a pen to work. So this bit here will be a star, and the end of the brackets here will be a star. So everything between those two stars is what you repeat. So we repeat this 5 times to make 10 petals. So it makes sense because each part of this pattern takes up 2 stitches. You'll see when I do it, we've got 10 single crochets and we've got 5 petals. So it makes sense then that each petal takes up 2 stitches. Are you following? You will when we do it, I promise. So I'm working with a 3mm hook and we're going to follow this pattern together. So what have we got first? 4 chain, join with a slip stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 chains. Now I did that totally out of your scope there. I do apologise. Start again. See what I mean? Get these amateurs. So 1. Make the chains nice and big so you can see. 2, 3, 4. Now we want to make a loop, so we make sure it's nice and flat, and we want to go back in to that first stitch. So just the top, going back in there. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going back into that one from the back so that we've got a little horseshoe. See that? So just the top part of the stitch. Now slip stitch is when you go, you yarn over and you go through both parts, both stitches on your hook, and you've just made a little circle there, see? So we've slip stitched. So slip stitching means just pull the yarn through both those stitches to make a loop. Okay, what have we got next? Join with slip stitch, 1 chain. So we're going to chain 1 and then round 1. So this is just to form the center. Now we haven't got a gap in the middle, which is good. So depending on what yarn you use, you won't get a gap in the middle, but you'll see why the magic circle later is often a better way of doing it, because if I pull that, it creates a little gap. So we're going to do 10 single crochets in this ring. So you see that we've created a gap. We want to do 10 single crochets in this loop, in that center bit there. Okay, so remember, we don't yarn over, and that's US single is our double. So we're going to do 10 double crochets in UK terms in that center of the ring. So we don't yarn over, we go into the center, yarn over through, yarn over through. Now if you can't find what you're doing, you can have a go at me for losing you off the camera, or you can pull your stitches up so you can see where your hook is going, and it should feed through nicely. So that is 1. So through the center, yarn over through. This is really hard working around a money box. Yarn over through, give it a little wiggle if you're not sure. Now the thing I've found with these crochet hooks is they're a little bit sharper than these ones. These are a little bit more rounded and not as smooth, so I find these easier for some reason than these metal ones. But that's 2 stitches we've done so far. Can you see those 2 stitches? 1 and 2. There are chevrons, 2 chevrons. So 8 more to go. Through the middle, round, yarn over, through. Okay, through the middle, don't worry about the tail, bugger the tail off, pull through, yarn over, through. So that's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, now there is what I was hoping to show you earlier. I have not pulled through all of the yarn, it's frayed off. So what we need to do is just find the rest of it. Okay, yarn over through. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9. And there I've caught a little bit of the yarn, so I'm gonna give that a wiggle. That was 8, wasn't it? If you wanted to put a stitch marker in that first one, that could have been a good idea. 9. Oh, lost it. Through, yarn over, through, yarn over, 2. Let's have a look. So we should have 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and there's our 10th one there, if you can just see it there. So count that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the one the loop is going through, 10. Okay, so we've got 10 stitches, and then join with a slip stitch and fasten off. That was nice and easy. But you can see now that we've ended up with a loop with a hole in it. So a slip stitch, we're going into that first stitch. If you're struggling, just pull it apart a little bit. I really don't know how to do my stitches nice and easy for you guys. Let's get that again. Give it a little bit of a wiggle. Slip stitch, bring it through. I'm going to make that bigger for you guys. If you're not sure, get rid of your hook for a second, give it a bit of a pull, and give yourself a bit more space in that stitch. Give it a little bit of a wiggle. See, I've got it through. Give it a wiggle. And then go back to where you were. So, slip stitch, in 3 stitch. That's a lot easier then. Yarn over. Give it a bit of a wiggle. See what I mean? These metal ones are a little bit too sharp for you to go through smoothly. There we go. Try and keep hold of yourself. Now slip stitch, remember, go straight through both pieces. You don't yarn over in between. So you've gone through, you've pulled the yarn through both sides of the stitch. Okay, so that's our slip stitch. And then fasten off. So to fasten off, you need a pair of scissors, which conveniently is not in my hand. So I'll use a craft knife, which is broken. So you want to leave a bit of a tail, which you will eventually sew in. So we've done our slip stitch. Now to fasten off, we literally just pull the yarn through, and that knocks it off quite nicely. But if you were to leave it there without weaving the end in, that could easily, very easily come undone. So give it a nice pull, and then at some point we will go through stitching in the ends. But for now, we're going to carry on. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stitches. Okay? Because you've slip stitched into one, you need to remember to go through that again. Keep losing you. I need a swear jar in case I keep losing a penny for each time. That's cheap ass. So we've slip stitched into here, but we mustn't forget that that is still a stitch that we can work into. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so now we're going to go on to our next colour, which I have this lovely blue. If I can find the end, which is there. So I have this lovely blue. Similar weight, a little bit thinner if anything. So what we do, we can literally just pick anywhere on this circle and start. So I don't forget about this stitch, I'm going to start in this little one here, and what I'm going to do is put my hook through, make a loop, pull it through, and then we can literally start from there. Don't need to knot it, you can, as long as you leave a tail, you can weave in the end later. So you've left a tail, weave that in later, hold it nice and tight there. So we are going to carry on with our pattern. What's next? So we've moved on to the blue, we're on round 2. So make 1 chain, and then here gets the complicated bit. So 1 chain, we've got 1 chain. So 1 single crochet, 1 double crochet and 1 treble crochet in the same stitch.